I was mowing the lawn yesterday because I realized the weeds had gotten up to my knees in the backyard, and they just sprung up last week during the rain. And so I was mowing the lawn and I turned on some music in my headphones. I turned on Snarky Puppy's We Like It Here, one of my favorite albums. And when the song Sleeper came on, I was hit with all kinds of emotions because I love this song. The song has a lot of power. The solo on that song, though, with the talk box, is very emotional. That, in addition to knowing who played that solo, gave me a lot of emotion in that moment. The solo was played by Sean Martin, one of my favorite artists, and he unfortunately passed away about 10 or 11 months ago. If you don't know Sean Martin, you might have heard his music pop up on some of your social media outlets or even on Spotify. His most famous is probably this one, Yellow Jacket. So he was an incredible jazz pianist. He played with Snarky Puppy, and he also did a lot of the arranging and musical directing for Kirk Franklin. Um, his life as a musician is inspiring, and I hope that I can say that I have been influenced by his music, because if I can share just a portion of his musical creativity, I will be happy with my own progress and playing as a musician. That's how much I admire Sean Martin. Uh, However, I was reminded of some of the things I saw online, some of the thoughts that went through my own head when I found out about his passing. And when he passed, I thought he was so young. He was in his 40s. How much more music could he have made if he got to live longer? And if you think about it, that's an awful thought. It strips musicians down to the products that they make. It puts his value in his ability to make creative music. And it seems like when we put musicians on a pedestal in that way, we dehumanize them. But I was in Fort Worth at the time of the memorial service, and I had thought I could either drive back to Abilene or I could drive an hour into Dallas and go to the memorial service, which starts pretty soon. It would have been just an incredible celebration of life, which is exactly what he wanted, as he expressed in his album Seven Summers. Talking about Nelson Mandela, he said that he wanted to live a life that people were glad that he lived, instead of sad that he died. And I feel like that's largely the way that he's been remembered. However, uh, we strip him down to his music. He was posthumously placed into the Gospel Hall of Fame, which is an excellent way to honor him, and it means a lot to his family, I'm sure. But I think a greater way that he's honored is that his wife is taking care of his children, that his brothers are taking care of his wife, and the impacts he had were not just musical. This is my point. There is a persona that we place on these celebrities, that their music is their impact on our life. But their lives are an impact on the people around them, much more than their music is an impact on us. And it's so dehumanizing to strip someone down to the products that they make. I think about Rich Mullins. He went by Rich when he was touring, when he was putting out music, and his music has affected a lot of people in great ways. However, he didn't go by Rich all the time. When he was with his family, he was Wayne. And I deeply respect that. He lived a life that was full outside of his musical endeavors, as do all artists, or hopefully all artists. Their life is full of family and full of other rich experiences, full of other hopes that don't have anything to do with their art, full of philosophies and things that drive them, dark points in their life and high points in their life. That doesn't always reflect in the music we hear. So, as we're remembering artists, I think about this idea of celebrities and of being on a pedestal and seen by the whole world. When celebrities die, there is a tendency for people to make it all about themselves. And I think about Ryan on The Office when he hears that Smokey Robinson dies, and then he's pacing back and forth going, oh no, Smokey Robinson passed away. And he can't name more than one song by Smokey Robinson. But he is just putting on this facade of being deeply affected. He didn't know the man. And of course, he's a fictional character, so that's not always exactly accurate, but it's a caricature of things that I actually see happen, things that I feel happen in my own heart. But from a Christian perspective, I firmly believe that the celebrity status is something that we're not designed for. When people live as celebrities, they are in the public spotlight all the time. They have no privacy, and they are puffed up constantly by people online, and also torn down constantly by people online. At the same time, that kind of pressure being put on you all the time is not healthy. Think of all the celebrity pastors you know. I have admired Tony Evans, Steve Lawson, Matt Chandler, David Platt, and so many others, even Ravi Zacharias. And there's something that all these have in common, some to a greater extent than others. But they all had secret things in their lives that were not Christianly. Maybe those were brought on somewhat by their celebrity status. Some of them have deep sin in their life. Some of them just have pressures put on them from things that they say that maybe are not the most wise things in the moment, but they are immediately ridiculed, and people turn against them quickly because of tiny things that they say. And I think specifically of David Platt here, because to my knowledge, he hasn't had any public disgrace, but the things he says about critical theory and quote-unquote wokeness, people immediately attack him for that without fully understanding him. They get these sound bites. And that's the kind of thing that might drive a Matt Chandler to have these inappropriate conversations with women on social media that are unguarded and not a part of their marriage. They're the reasons that Tony Evans, who going through his own life struggles with his sick wife, might fall into sexual temptation. And to a greater degree, being puffed up all the time means that you have this idea that you can't be touched. And that's where we get Ravi Zacharias and Mike Bickle, people that had deep, deep sin in their life because they feel they were untouchable, because they feel they were appointed by God. And I just think there's no healthy aspect to being a celebrity. So these are just my thoughts on this. I know I've talked a little bit longer than I expected. But if you have some thoughts, leave them in the comments. All this was brought on because I was thinking about a musician that I greatly respect. And if there are some ways in which Sean Martin has influenced your life, or Rich Mullins, or any of the other people I've mentioned, if there are some ways that your lives have been impacted that don't have as much to do with the music someone puts out, but more about the heart behind the music and the person behind the music, then just think about those things today.